Welcome to Leading for Wellness. I'm Liesl Bernard, CEO of Kalan Executive Search. Each week, we'll dive into the journeys of visionary wellness entrepreneurs, uncovering their secrets to success. Get ready for insightful conversation that will inspire you to elevate your business and prioritize your well-being. Let's dive in. I'm very excited about our episode today. I have the pleasure of having Madly Hadley in the house. Madelyn Hadley is the CEO of Madly Hadley. It's a vegan-based, plant-based snack and topping company, and excited to hear about your journey, Madelyn.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for being here.
thank you for having me.
Well, I'd love to start out with how you got the idea for this company and how it all came about.
Gosh, well, there were a lot of little little things that like helped contribute to get me here to starting this. But I guess if I start at the very beginning, back in college, I worked at Whole Foods actually. They had this little position as a personal shopper before Instacart came in. So I was doing that. And then Instacart came in and I was literally in the parking lot pushing carts, bagging groceries, helping out their whole body department kind of. So I was really like in the stores looking at all of the natural products then. And then I started a meal prep company with a naturopathic doctor, plant-based, gluten-free, all the things. Like she had some people that couldn't have nightshades, so it was very, very custom. And then I became a plant-based private chef. And so I've just been cooking like whole plant-based, better for you foods for a long time. And I noticed that a lot of the things I was making for my clients just weren't available in grocery stores. So without knowing anything about the industry, I thought it would be a good idea. And it has been a good idea, but it's like you don't know what you don't know until you start. But I'm so happy that I did because it's been really exciting.
Amazing. You seem very young to be a CEO of a company that's so successful. I know you're in some of the major brands around the country, including Whole Foods and Sprites and Erewhon, Sprouts and Erewhon, and Jimbo's, which, in the Southern California market, everyone knows those. So very impressive with what you have created. Have you always been vegan, or what inspired you to create vegan products?
So I've been plant-based now for a really long time. I think starting just after college, really stopped eating meat altogether and fish and eggs and things. But yeah, it's the classic reasons, right? The environment, your health, the animals, like all of those play a role in why I eat a plant-based diet, and just wanted to make it easier for people to have less processed alternatives because a lot of the dairy and like bacon, which I have a little coconut bacon, that's one of my products. All of that stuff is usually so processed. So I wanted to bring these like minimally processed, made in a real kitchen foods to more people.
Amazing. What kind of products do you have? What are sort of your best sellers right now?
Just so I have some here. I have the original coconut bacon. They're plant-based bacon bits. They're shelf stable. You can find them by the croutons. So they're really crispy and savory and um, just great on salads. Or I love to put them on like pasta or gnocchi instead of pancetta. And then I have dairy-free Parmesan made out of cashews. And then the newest product just now landing in all stores nationwide is this pistachio crumble. So it's a really great topping as well.
And what do you use that for? Is that on salads or desserts?
Actually, on pasta, like it's in the pasta sauce set with all of the pasta sauces. So I had it literally last night on a like cashew cream based pasta.
Sounds delicious. Amazing. So what do you think really was the pivotal moment where you said, well, I can do this, I can get these products into a store? So you went from working in Whole Foods as a shop, a personal shopper, and then you became a personal chef and start working with naturopathic doctors. Did you actually go to school to become a chef, or how did that transition happen?
Yeah, it's interesting because believe it or not, like back when I was doing all this, gosh, like 10 years ago, there really weren't a bunch of programs out there like there are today with plant-based cooking and kind of that style of cooking and learning and things. So I'm entirely self-trained. So just kind of thrown into the deep end with the meal prep company. Just I was making all the menus and I hired some chefs to like help me out, real chefs too. So I had to like get my stuff together and really learn a lot really fast.
That's so impressive. Did you have funders at the time to be able to hire those people, or did you self-fund it? Sort of how did that all happen? Because it typically takes, some investment money or some capital to start a business like this.
Yeah, for the meal prep company, it was my business partner who is for that, she's an excellent naturopathic doctor. So she put in a little bit and I put in a little bit. And that was kind of how we started that. And it was very bootstrappy. It just kept going. But meal prep and cooking in a kitchen like that every week is super, super challenging because the menu changes on a weekly basis. So really to scale, we would have had to raise a bunch of funds, and it's just a super difficult type of business to scale.
And so how did you go from that to where you are now?
Yeah, so after that, I just took on a few of those clients privately, and so was cooking for them and kind of figuring out what I wanted to do next. I mean, I loved cooking as a private chef, but I just didn't see that as my, plan for the next like 30 years of my life or something. So, I was making the bacon bits and the Parmesan all the time for people and their friends and family, and everyone was just asking like, oh, where, you should sell this, can you make me some just to take in a Ziploc? So I was like, I should just make it for everyone.
Amazing. It's amazing how one thing just leads to another, and if you continue to follow your passion and your intuition, it eventually gets there. What has been the hardest thing for you? I know it's as an entrepreneur, I know how challenging it is. There's, always something that comes up and you have to deal with. But if you think back, what were the pivotal moments that really stand out where you're like, oh my gosh, I can't do this, I can't figure this out? What were the biggest challenges that you faced along the way?
Well, there's definitely a learning curve to working with the large distributors that supply Whole Foods and Sprouts. So just not having any like training and getting thrown into all of their rules and how they need things to be done so that everything flows seamlessly through distribution. It's never quite seamless, and some of that was my fault, and I learned from those mistakes. But I'd say that was like the biggest challenge for me just to learn.
To get into, I know Whole Foods is extremely difficult to get into. They're very particular about what they want, the requirements and labeling and so forth. So very impressive that you were able to do that, and now you're on all these different shelves. Really incredible.
Yeah, yeah, I'm super thankful. Whole Foods really went out on a limb there to bring my products in just so early on, and I'm super thankful that they did, and they've been really great partners.
And are you in restaurants and other health food outlets as well, or you mainly sell, on the shelf?
So the food service angle of this is so exciting to me. It's something that I'm trying to explore more because in a restaurant setting, there's so much going on, and having things that are so simple to make plant-based options, especially in restaurants that don't have them, to kind of be able to create that menu with very little effort. That's certainly something that I'm trying to expand. And I've really enjoyed the few food service customers I do have. It just is so easy to just like, here you go, put it in your recipes, it'll be amazing, and without too much logistics or marketing, it's really nice.
So what's your vision for the company, say 5, 10 years from now in a perfect world, what would that look like?
Well, I'd love to continue expanding kind of my offerings. Like I make some really excellent pasta sauces and salad dressings, and from a supply chain standpoint, that sounds like a nightmare. So I really need to be prepared before we, take any steps in expanding into other categories. But long term, I'd love to have kind of this suite of products that you can have in your pantry, in your refrigerator, that are all clean and make it really easy to prepare high quality meals at home.
Amazing. Maybe even start another restaurant, right? Or start a restaurant where you can have all of your products in there. So for aspiring entrepreneurs that are looking at you as like, how do I get from here to getting my products into Whole Foods? What are the critical steps if you had to go back and say, this is what I would do differently, or this is what definitely what I would do next time around?
Yeah, well, I think people tend to look at a lot of reasons like why they can't do something and kind of be their own roadblock. So it's just like you have to go for it. You have to figure out how you can make this, how you can make enough of it, what the shelf life is, and then start figuring out how to get in front of the right people. And I mean, there's LinkedIn, which I need to be more active on, but that can be a really great place to be meeting people. And then you host an amazing networking event. So just getting out in the community is a really good way to start building those relationships.
Yeah, and then just being very, very persistent. How often do you spend time just dreaming, visualizing, and really, being clear on your goals and following through on those? Like, what do you do from a personal perspective when sometimes when you're overwhelmed and challenged? Like, what is your personal practice in order to keep going? When times are tough.
Yeah, no, that's a really, really good question because definitely times can be tough. But I think it's really important personally to be like looking at how far I've come and really acknowledging all of the positives. Like it's so easy to get bogged down in a really a difficult situation, like a pallet went to the wrong place and then this happened and that happened. But it's like zooming out and looking at the big picture of does that really matter? Like that's something that can be easily corrected and how far you are already today. So that kind of helps. And some journaling, get it all out on paper and read it and then move on.
Is that a daily practice or is that something you do once a week? Do you have a daily meditation visualization process that you follow?
So I am trying to do more like meditating. It can be tricky, but yeah, I wake up like at 6 when I'm on my game and I do a little like meditation. And then if I'm really feeling overwhelmed is when I just like write it all out and set it aside. And that helps a lot. It's very like cathartic.
Yeah, you seem very calm and not stressed at all for everything that you've got going on. Who are your biggest mentors, and who do you turn to when you need advice? And who do you go to for inspiration and financial advice? I think probably all those are different people, right?
Yeah, no, I'm so lucky to have so many wonderful experienced people that I can talk to about these things. I mean, there's so many in San Diego that I can call, but my dad is kind of my go-to. My poor dad, he's retired or was supposed to be retired like contract attorney. But of course, if there's any questions I have on contracts or I'm just feeling really stressed out, he's just got really solid advice. And so he's a easy person for me to go to. And
And he's close by. He's in San Diego as well.
no, so he's in Seattle and then he spends the other part of the year in Tuscany living the retired dream life.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Are you planning on going international with your products as well?
Oof, not for a super long time. Just that sounds like a lot of logistics I'm not ready for.
Yeah, absolutely. And how about for inspiration? Where do you turn to for inspiration?
In terms of like marketing or
Or just
products,
motivation, those days are like, oh my gosh, I just need someone to, give me a motivational boost to say, hey, it's going to be okay. You can do this. Is that still your dad, or is there another group of people that you turn to for that?
my dad and my poor husband knows every fluctuation in my mood, so he's really great. And cats, they have magic bellies. You could sniff it, and it's really
That's
comforting.
awesome.
But yeah, it helps. And then also just it's really hard, but if I can find time to do like I love drawing. That's a big part of my packaging actually is like I drew a bunch of the things on it and like made this jacket. I like sewing. So it's when I can find times to do things like that that really kind of feed my soul from a creative perspective.
I was going to ask you about your packaging. Your packaging is gorgeous, so colorful and happy and fun. I didn't realize you actually did that yourself. I thought you might have outsourced that, but that's gorgeous. So it's a really a creative outlet for you in so many ways, this company.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's a lot of fun too. Since I went through a rebrand, and I loved my old. I had a very intricate kind of jungle with a chameleon packaging, but it was nothing that I could create myself. So, being able to draw everything on my iPad and throw it on the packaging, and then if I need to, like, I'm making a menu for a dinner I'm doing for work, and so being able to like draw the menu myself and bring in some of my like the David guy on here, and yeah, that's a lot of fun.
It's so unique, your packaging. You have so many different facets to it. I had a look at some of your products earlier on before we started, and I was going to ask you about that. That's really amazing. Do you have an art background too, or where did you get that creative aspect from?
Yeah, no art background. I would have loved to have done that like after high school, but it wasn't in the cards. My parents said, go get a regular degree, and then if you still want to do that, you can do that. But now it's really cool because way back when I was hoping that I could do that for work, and now I am doing it for work, so that's fun. In addition to a bunch of other things, but
Yeah. Do you believe in manifestation?
wow. Yeah, I actually do. I find like you really you attract kind of the energy that you're putting out. So when I've been in like a very negative mindset, it just then all of a sudden there's all these problems. Whereas when I'm in a much more positive mindset, all these like amazing things start happening, and there's a lot of really great coincidences that have happened. So
Yeah, I think we call it coincidence sometimes, right? And then you start thinking, well, what mindset was I in at that time, or how was I thinking? And then, maybe it wasn't coincidence. I think we're all trying to figure out this mindset manifestation correlation. Do you actively practice mindset, or do you feel like you're just naturally excited, positive, and visionary about your company?
I try to in those like that meditation in the morning. I, try to like course correct and get in the right mindset and keep it going. And I find that it does make a really big difference if I carve out that time and I am consistent with it, just practicing like the gratitude and positivity and things like that. It definitely makes a really big difference for my week and what happens. And
Yeah, absolutely. What is your team like? How big is your team now, and how do you structure your workload? I assume you contract manufacture most of your products. Is that right?
yes, so I have two contract manufacturers, and that was another circling back to like things that can be difficult starting out. I it was a bumpy road to find really great ones, but I'm so happy with them. They're just such good people, and they really care about quality, so that's been excellent. Um, and then very recently, I have someone helping me out part time with operations, just like the PO fulfillment, because I've been fulfilling them all myself and
No
doing.
way. All of it yourself? That's incredible.
I didn't have anyone helping me, but just literally in the past like 2 months, I'm getting some part time help and training her, and she's been wonderful too. So
So you have done this all on your own from start to finish, obviously with the contract manufacturer and distributors, but from the packaging to formulating the product to dealing with your contract manufacturers to fulfilling orders up until now. And you started in 2021, I think you said, right?
yeah, I started selling. So it took me like 2 years to get to market with figuring out the packaging and the formulation, and then trying to find a co-packer because I didn't want to start in a commercial kitchen just because I'd spent so much time in a commercial kitchen at this meal prep company, and I was like, that is going to be a bottleneck like so fast. So yeah, it took me a bit.
And you did that all at home, not in a commercial kitchen.
Yeah, just like the development of the products, yeah. And
Mhm.
then I kind of bounced around in the beginning with manufacturers.
That is so impressive, Madeline. That's really incredible that you did this all on your own, and you're in all these different stores, and you just hired your first employer on a contract basis,
Yes.
employee on a contract basis.
Mhm.
That is so impressive. I'm really impressed with what you've done. Do you have investors now or advisors? How do you structure, what you do from an outside perspective?
Yeah, so I did a crowdfunding raise about a year ago, a little over a year ago. So that was like the one kind of public round that I did. I didn't really raise that much on there or push that too much. But um, since then, I do have some investors coming in soon. But until it's all signed,
Congratulations.
and advisors. So we're working on like the paperwork and the next actually it's supposed to be by the end of this week. And so at that point I can, talk about it. It'll be great though.
Amazing, amazing. So, what do you do for fun outside of creating amazing recipes and doing great packaging and artwork? What do you do else for fun?
Ah, um for fun, well yeah, definitely like the art stuff is really fun for me and spending time with friends and family. I like all things design, so we've been working on our kitchen. So I guess that's been fun. I don't know if it would be fun for many people like doing a remodel, but yeah, gardening too is something I really enjoy also.
It's amazing. It sounds like you're very in tune with your creative, soft, feminine side, the cooking, the art, the gardening, and all of that good stuff. So, yeah, it's really nice to see. There's so few women that really embrace that soft side of themselves. And do you consciously activate that, or is that just how you've always been?
I think it's just how I've always been, but there is the other side where like some you really gotta be on stuff with when it comes to like running a business like this. So not that being feminine isn't on stuff, but you got to be like really direct and really kind of I'm not afraid to follow up and follow up and follow up and be like, wait, where is this? So that side is definitely there as well.
So, it's somewhat impatient and forceful.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, probably. A lot of people would probably say that, but impatient. But really, you to get things done on
You
time,
have to be.
which in even still, I can be so like following up all the time and pushing, 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 and then sometimes it still ends up being late, which happened recently and was really frustrating. But you just got to keep on everything.
Yeah. Being feminine doesn't mean you have to be weak, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. I think it's finding that perfect balance between being knowing when to be soft and knowing when you have to go after something and make it happen. Does your husband help you with the business, or is that something does he have his own career?
So he has his own career. He has a CPA practice, which
Okay.
actually does end up helping a lot because he does my taxes and my books. So that's awesome. And actually, a friend of mine, like also just talking about people that are helping out, she invested personally, and she has a great finance background. So she'll be working with him and with me on really ironing out like solid cash flow and even more detailed projections and by channel, by customer, all the things. So,
You have good information to make decisions on. And I think with, contract manufacturing and then getting into stores, there's definitely a lot of cash flow required, right, in order to get to the shelf in a store. So, I think it's amazing what you've done with very little, without real investors, et cetera. So I bet you manage cash flow very tightly within the organization as well, right?
oh, definitely. That's why it's been just me for so long, is it's like, and me doing the packaging too, is I couldn't afford to hire some big creative agency or something. So, definitely very scrappy over here.
So impressive. So impressive. So how do you do marketing? How do you advertise your product? Obviously, people can find it in the store, but do you utilize social media and how do you use it? And what other platforms do you use?
So that is a great question and something that I'm working on. If you go to my social media, I have been so MIA. I haven't even posted a video yet. Hopefully, by the time this airs, there will be a video about the rebrand. Just because I've been so consumed by the operational side, but with the help of my new part-time operations person, I'm hoping that I can do more social media like awareness and more partnerships with influencers and things like that.
That's amazing. Again, that you've, done so well without a lot of marketing. I think there's a lot of education to be done as well with plant-based products. I think most people that think vegan, they think of bland food, they think of boring. And you've obviously changed that with the amazing creative products. I can't wait to try your coconut bacon. I love coconut, I love bacon. So I'm sure I'm going to love it. But you've really allowed people to have access to fun, very, great tasting vegan and plant-based food. And so I think there's some education to be done around that for people because there are healthy, great tasting alternatives out there now, and you're definitely one of them.
No, that's a really good point. Is there is this, and it comes from someplace, right? I think that there are a lot of bland or low quality alternatives on the market, which is why I did this. But at the same time, I need to be able to convey to people why mine is different. And the biggest way that I've had success doing that is demos. When I can actually be in a store sampling my product, people, it's like this funny thing, this double take, they grab a little sample cup and they walk away and then they like look back and they come back. um
I
so yeah,
love that.
it's a lot, definitely education. And you, there's like the plant-based bacon bits, there's really no competitor on the shelf either, so that's good and bad because people don't know how to use it, or they're not familiar. Most plant-based bacon bits are not good, so
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. I think I was vegan for a minute and I'm like, I can't do this because it just was, and everything tasted weird. And,
Mhm.
there just wasn't a lot of options around there to do. And that was, a few years ago, but you're definitely changing that paradigm. And how do you feel being in a vegan diet? Do you feel like it's easy for you to get enough protein and, having these good tasting options obviously makes it so much easier, right?
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I haven't had any issues from like a health standpoint. Always been, very healthy and very active and stuff. So for me, it's been fine. But another thing that I just think is so important that can be difficult sometimes with plant-based brands and products is that it sometimes can be looked at as like very exclusionary. And I always say like my products are for everyone. There's the bacon is kosher. So, there's like it really applies to multiple groups of people or people that can't have dairy but they eat meat. Like it, I'm hoping that it spans amongst more than just plant-based, and
Based, yeah.
that they can have better alternatives for things that they're not eating.
Yeah, so it's not exclusively for plant-based, vegan, vegetarian, but it's great tasting food that's healthy for you regardless of your diet preferences.
Yeah, and I think everyone agrees that it's always good to eat, vegetables. I think everyone can get on the same, and it's always good to eat flavorful food. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm hoping the messaging goes.
Amazing, amazing. So if people wanted to get a hold of you, either to invest, I know you're going to do another big raise here in a few months. So if anyone's listening that would like to partner with you, or where people can buy your product or where they can, reach you on social media, what is the best ways to get a hold of you?
So there is a contact on the website, which of course it comes to me. I don't have a
Because you're a one man show right now, pretty much. Yeah.
you contact someone on the website, I always just respond from my work email, and people are like, "Oh, that's a what great customer service," because it just pops up and I see it right away. So that's a great way. And then I'm here and there on social media. I sometimes don't open it for a week, which I know is really bad. So I will respond if someone sends a DM, which is Madly Hadley Magic is the Instagram handle.
Okay. Love that. And you're on LinkedIn as well?
Yes.
Okay, Madeline Hadley on LinkedIn as well. Fantastic. Well, I am so excited for you. I must say, I'm so impressed with what you've done, all on your own and with the vision and, getting through all these challenges that you've had over the last few years. And here you are, and I'm sure you're going to create very amazing big things in your life. And I really thank you so much for your time, and I hope you're going to make our event next week.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to try to be there. I'll be getting back from Austin like the day before, but it would be really fun.
And feel free to bring some of your samples too. I would love to try them.
Yes, I will. I actually, someone brought samples of their product last time. I'm like, why have I not brought samples to this event? So I will definitely be bringing samples.
Fantastic. Well, I can't wait. Thank you so much for your time, and congratulations on all your success. I'm rooting for you big time.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning into Leading for Wellness. This podcast is powered by Kalon Executive Search. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and review us on your favorite podcast platform. And to learn more about our services, you can visit us at kalonstaffing.com or follow us on Instagram at kalonstaffing.